is Ian Gaida, and I'll be talking to you about speaking up for others, destructive fear, and verbal and nonverbal communication as they appear in the pursuit of happiness. The definition of speaking up for others is speaking up because others are always being treated unjustly by people or institutions. And this is best shown by how Chris is always doing what's best for his son. He knew life with his mother would not be good if he stayed there, and he took his son out of daycare because he knew he was being mistreated and that the owners didn't really care about him. It's also shown how when he is looking for a place to stay or something to eat, it's always because he has his son. That is always the one go-to he comes back to when he is looking for a place, and that's because he puts him above everything else in his life. The definition of destructive fear is fear of public speaking. It is commonly called speech apprehension, and it affects even the most gifted of speakers. Chris Gardner struggles to get Mr. Twistle's attention to discuss the status of his internship, and he'd even rather solve a Rubik's Cube than talk to him. However, Chris uses this as an icebreaker, solves it for him, and then he manages to get his attention and even schedules an interview for the internship. He gets nervous again during the internship, but now that he has Mr. Twistle to back him, things go along a lot more smoothly, despite what he's wearing and how he appears. Another example of this is calling his wife when she'd left him, and when they're in the subway, he's trying to entertain him with the whole time machine concept. The definition of verbal expressiveness is the speaker's delivery being energetic, impassioned, and engaging without hesitancy, monotone, or verbal filters. And while he does speak with a lot of enthusiasm and hits on a lot of great points when he talks, he has trouble with his delivery. For example, he encourages Chris Jr. to pursue his dreams, even though a few moments earlier he told him about how he's probably not going to become a professional basketball player. But despite all this, he still manages to entertain his son, stimulate his imagination, as it were, again, the time machine example in the subway. And a lot of his hesitation comes from when he's improvising something, like an excuse, like carrying in his laundry when he's going into work in the morning. The definition of nonverbal expressiveness is the speaker's ability to maintain eye contact and use arms and body effectively to support his verbal expressiveness. And this is mostly shown in how his movements convey a sense of who he is as a person and his personality as a whole. For when he's leaning his head in his arms against a wall, that shows that he's frustrated. He tends to flail his arms when he's angry. And he's very reserved in his joy. When he hears that he's been accepted for the interview, all he can sort of just do is give out a low whisper and hold back tears. Another thing he does is he tends to draw with his hands as a visual aid, and you can sort of see that he is a guiding hand to Chris. He's always holding his hand, his arm, or has him under his arm whenever they're moving around, going from place to place. And now I will hand it over to Hannah, who will be talking to you about the fruits of the Spirit.